Hi, everybody. My name's Larry, and I'm an alcoholic. And I want to thank Mike for inviting me down to be here with you guys. And it's good to be in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I thought the 10-minute speaker did a great job. Could have listened to him all night. Knock it off, you're cutting into my time. Yeah, we could have listened to him all night, huh? In fact, we damn near did. It's good to be in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm an alcoholic and a plumber. And I know this is a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, but plumbing is a part of my story. And I'm glad to be in an enthusiastic meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because so many times we find ourselves in meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous where you would swear to God you were in the med room over there at Metro, you know. There's no enthusiasm at all. And in these rooms tonight, there's a spirit here that you bring and that I bring, and that together something happens that's never happened before, and it's called identification. One alcoholic talking to another. And that's all Alcoholics Anonymous is. It ain't this room, it ain't that club, it ain't the pool tables, it ain't the dances. It's one alcoholic talking to another. For the first time, we can identify with somebody to round off our differences, where maybe we could surrender to the fact that maybe we can apply these steps to our life and relieve the obsession to drink. You see, if you're new, I know you've got a hell of a problem, and I know you're in a heck of a spot. And it's not the first time you've been in that spot. In fact, that seems to be your problem. You keep winding up in that spot. And no matter what you do and what you try and where you go and who talks to you, it's just a matter of time. Oh, this ain't it either. Boom. And you're new sober again. This time it's going to be different. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And if you're like me, that's the only way a little loser like me gets hope, is starting over again. Brand new town, new probation officer, you know. This time it's going to be different, and it's got to be different. We insist on it being different, you know. Nobody likes to believe he's in that class, is what the book says. Nobody wants to believe he's an alcoholic. I'll be anything but, you know. Don't call me an alkie, because I may have to do something about it. And I operated for years under the illusion that drinking was my problem. And what I found out in Alcoholics Anonymous, and by taking an inventory, was that drinking has always been my answer. Not drinking has always been my problem. Sobriety drove me to drink time and time and time and time again. I couldn't stand the way that I felt when I was sober. I mean, the first week is great. You got your little new hopes going, you know, and you swear off forever. And Jesus Christ, if you've been in and out of AA like I have, quit telling people about it. I mean, really, quit running to mom and dad and tell them, I'm going to AA again. You know, I scared the hell out of my mom and dad because year after year, I kept up, well, I'm going back to AA, you know, and shit, they started getting scared. Every time they heard that word, they go, well, he's going to get loaded again, you know, because I never stayed, you know, and I'm the type of guy who always has to feel special about doing average things. And that's what alkies are. Alkies want a parade every time they do run-of-the-mill shit, you know. We come here getting sober and we think, oh, there's going to be a parade down Paramount Boulevard. Yay, yeah, Christ. Mikey gets sober, yay, you know. Nobody gives a shit. Really, nobody cares. They care a little in here. They care a little in here. If you want to impress anybody in AA, get a commitment. Grab a mop. Start doing what the minority does in AA. And that's the little chicken shit jobs around here. They get this meeting together so goofs like me and you can come here and feel something for the first time, besides our own feelings, you know. I think one of the worst questions I was ever asked when I was new is, how you doing? You know? Don't confuse them, you know what I mean? What do you mean, how am I doing, you know? Or when people would give me compliments, oh, that would piss me off, you know? Nice tie. What do you mean by that? What, you don't like the tie? You know, never knew how to take compliments, you know. And if you knew, you probably think you're in hell. You're close, but you're not in hell. You're not in hell. There's a little story about a guy that died and went to hell. Guy died and he went to hell. He's down there wandering around, got the long face on. Guy comes up to him and he says, hey, why the long face? And he says, well, I'm in hell. And he says, oh, man, did you ever drink before? And he goes, yeah. And he says, well, you're going to love Mondays. Hell, down here we got whiskey, we got rum, we got 151, we got Old English, we got Mad Dog, and you don't have to worry about getting cirrhosis. Hell, you're dead anyway. The guy goes, yeah. And he says, did you ever do any dope? And he says, well, a little. And he says, that's the kind of line that got you down here. He says, you're going to love Tuesdays. We got heroin, we got speed, we got hash, we got acid, we got reds, we got whites. You don't have to worry about overdosing. Hell, you're dead anyway. The guy goes, yeah. He says, do you like to smoke? And he says, yeah. He says, well, you're going to love Wednesdays. We got Camels, we got Cools, we got Viceroys, we got Virginia Slims, we got cigars, you don't have to worry about getting cancer. Hell, you're dead anyway. He says, do you like to gamble? And he says, yeah. He says, you're going to love Thursdays. We've got poker, we got pan, we got the ponies, and you don't have to worry about going broke. Hell, you're dead anyway. He says, are you gay? And he says, no. He says, well, you're going to hate Fridays. That could be hell. You're not in hell. My sponsor tells me that I'm living proof that a guy can stay sober for close to 18 years and not amount to a damn thing. He says, I'm not much, but I'm all I think about. And you're going to hear the S word tonight. We're going to talk about sponsorship, and we're going to talk about the things, because I'm a firm believer that Alcoholics Anonymous works. I'm not one here to whine and complain about what AA hasn't given me. Alcoholics Anonymous is designed to work, and it's designed to work for people who don't think it'll work for them. It's designed to work for losers like us, who are at our wits' end, who wind up coming to A&A, putting our name on a damn wall, you know, because this isn't the first house on the block. But you'd better damn well believe it's the last one. And I come to Alcoholics Anonymous so many years thinking that it was a step down. That my last drunk wasn't my worst drunk. But it was amazing how my perception changed, that when I come to Alcoholics Anonymous my last time, it looked like a step up. It looked like something I better damn well shoot for. Because the first thing that I always got back after I got drunk was my opinion of what's going to work for me. And it isn't amazing to watch people come to AA. I got a guy that had been going out of AA for 2 years. He was on my porch not too long ago. Stone drunk again. But Larry, I love AA. He says, but I just don't see why I got to go to so many meetings. He says, in my opinion, I can get by on 2. And then I got a doctor that I sponsor who can't stay sober because on his opinion, he doesn't see why he can't come to AA and take medication. He says, because in my opinion, he says, I've got this deep depression. And he says, in my opinion, I don't see why I can't take medication. And the trouble with sponsoring guys like that, when you're sponsoring doers, is that the doers have to work the steps to get through their depressions. The doctor just got to open up a little bottle, you know, take a couple Thorazine or something, and he's over his depression, you know. And then I got another guy that I sponsor who had 9 years, who in his opinion doesn't think he needs to come to his home group anymore because he's going bald. And what he doesn't realize that there's more shiny heads in that Monday night meeting than I've ever seen in my life, you know. It's all about what happens here after we're sober, you know. How do you keep that level of desperation that you have when you first get here, you know? What keeps a guy here after 17 years? What is it that'll keep a guy here? It's not about getting anymore. I've gotten everything you're come to get when you come to Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't come here to get a damn thing tonight. I come to see you, and by seeing you, I see the miracle. There's something happens when you come just to give a little, just for the hell of giving it, I was told. And what a neat thing it is to see the heartbeat of Alcoholics Anonymous alive and well in Paramount, California, where all we're used to is helicopters and sirens. There's something going on here, and you better tap into it, because this is the only place in town where people like me and you can get together and survive one more day. And it ain't about that crawling around the street surviving, sneaking around the alley surviving. It's about joining in with people you've been rubbing shoulders with here in these rooms. If you're new, get a sponsor. But more important than that, and just as important, get a couple other people that you can call friends who you can talk to about your sponsor. Do you know what that son of a bitch told me to do? You know. Get somebody you can drive around with and go to meetings with and fart and joke around with, man, because you're on the ride of your life. And I hope you grab a corner of the star and run with it, pal. I do. Now, my mom and dad aren't the reason why I'm an alcoholic. I'm just some poor white trash who was born in Detroit. I had a great mom and dad. My mom was a little Scandinavian lady. We moved over to Harbor City when I was about 4 years old. I grew up in a little foster home for a while. And my mom was a great little lady. My mom loved diet pills. My mom would eat those green and white Dexies and buzz around the damn house all night, you know. I knew if I ever wanted any love or affection, I could go out into the garage and find her sorting nuts and bolts all damn night, you know. You know, just busy little lady, man, mowing the neighbor's yard and stuff, you know, and just flying around the damn house, man, you know, and she loved to do jigsaw puzzles. That was my mom's favorite thing, man. They'd take a bunch of Dexies and do these 30 million piece jigsaw puzzles in one setting, you know. She'd go down to Save-On's, get her a carton of Raleigh cigarettes, because they had the coupons on the back, you know, and she used to save those coupons to buy more yarn because she loved to do needlepoint. She'd be clicking and clacking all night long, man. Everything in the house had a damn Afghan. Chairs had Afghans, couches had Afghans. If there's any live animals, they had a fresh vest on them, you know, because she was knitting stuff, you know, right then and there, man. She was just putting stuff out, man. My dad's golf clubs had a set of chipmunks she'd knit over them, you know, and she'd just putting them out, man. And she'd go down there, get her a carton of Raleigh cigarettes, you know, and she'd buy more coupons because she could buy more yarn with the coupons. It was a hideous cycle she was caught up in, you know. And she'd go home and put this stinky peroxide on her hair that smelled like sewer gas, put this moo-moo on that was shiny in all the wrong places, and start putting together this puzzle and smoking those Raleighs, man, you know. Take a couple more Dexies, you know, and she had a big pair of toenail clippers, so if she got a piece that didn't fit, well, she'd snip that son of a bitch right down till it did, you know. Then she'd put them in a frame and put it above my bed, you know, and she had all these weird pictures that she got out of it, and just a busy lady, man. And I remember taking a couple of those. I'm a curious kid. I'm into cupboards and stuff like that, you know, and God, I remember getting into the cupboards and taking two of my mom's Dexies. I was about 8 years old, man, and just trying to beat my eyes into the next room, you know, and yeah, I run out to the garage, start sniffing some rug cleaner, close the damn garage door, start putting together the PT 109, you know. Every now and then I'd look out the window and I'd see black and white, you know. That's the damn sun going up and down, you know. 5 days later, I come out of there, you know. I loved it, man. I loved it. Are there any toenail smokers in here? There's got to be some toenail smokers. I just took an inventory with a guy, and he just nailed me. That's the neat thing about doing fifth steps with guys. He's a toenail smoker. He scraped so much stuff up off the carpet one night, he went to light it, and there was a big toenail hanging out the damn pipe, man. I go, yeah, man, I mean, just get that shit, man. Just long as it's something that you could, you know. He went to fire up that thing, there's a big old toenail, and he smoked it. Oh, man, bless his heart. So, my mom loved me to death. My dad was a refinery worker. My dad was a happy drunk. My dad was a happy singing the blues, Nat King Cole, Bobby Darin drunk. My dad loved to sing and he loved to drink, you know. And he was a miserable man when he was sober, but just a happy drunk, man. And he was a window climber. My dad was always sneaking in and out of his own damn house. It was an amazing thing, you know, and he's coming through my bedroom window around midnight, you know. I could feel his old greasy boot coming there, and he puts his boot on my chest as he's coming in the window, you know. I remember grabbing it and saying, hey, why don't you have Mom make you a set of keys? Man, she's up anyway. I mean, get out of my window. There was something going on in my house, and that we hear about in Alcoholics Anonymous, where people call us phonies. Well, I could go out there and do whatever I have to do, but the thing that was bothering me is that I didn't know how to talk to my own people. I didn't know how to have conversations with my mom and dad and my sisters, and I used to feel like I was weird about that. I felt ashamed about that, because I used to compare myself to other guys, and they were going to baseball games with their dads and stuff like that, and I was just an odd little kid. I mean, if you were to line kids up, you'd plug one kid in and he'd say, gonna be a lawyer. You'd plug one in kid and he'd say, gonna be a teacher. You'd plug me in and I'd shock you. You know, something wasn't right there. And everybody around me seemed to be getting by with everyday living. They seemed to be content going to school, playing Pop Warner football, playing Sandlot baseball. Everybody seemed to be a little bit content with everyday living. I haven't been content with everyday living since the day I opened my eyes. In fact, it bored the hell out of me. I knew there had to be something else going on because there was a grinding going on in here, and I was always trying to figure out what was wrong with me. I've always been trying to figure out what the hell's wrong with me. I've never been able just to go out there and just have a clear head about things. I've always been consumed with me and how I felt. You know, and I've always pictured myself as something that crawled out of a rock. I never had a high opinion about me. I was always felt like some little dirt bag, and I was always looking out a dirty bedroom window, you know. And my dad came down to my bedroom when I was about 9 years old and said I was going to have a baby brother. Boy, that alky imagination kicked right in. I had 2 sisters, and I'm in between them. And, man, I start planning for that kid brother. I start saving up my baseball cards and oiling up my glove and thinking about that kid brother, man. You know, and how we were going to go to the drag strip and stuff like that. 9 months later, my dad came down to that same bedroom and he told me that my baby brother died. I don't remember having any type of ounce of compassion or concern for my mom or my dad or anything. But I went after the old man with all 70 pounds. I made physical contact with my dad for the first time, and if you're a man in Alcoholics Anonymous, you know what that feels like. For no longer, there's a shame about that I'll never forget. But I meant because I went right through temper tantrum in a rage in a New York second. And all I remember was telling him that you promised me. You promised me. And I remember smacking him like that. And I'll never forget how that made me feel. But it wasn't enough to make me stop. But it was the first thing that was going to come out on an inventory because that was the last brick in a wall that I'd been building between me and that old man for a long time. You see, I felt more a part of life running around the streetlights at midnight than I did around my old dinner table. I don't know why that was. But I was uncomfortable around my people, and I didn't know what to do about that. I didn't know how to talk to them. And I'm always got a chip on my shoulder, and I'm always got a big mouth, and I'm always waiting for people to knock that chip off, you know. And I'm always trying to prove myself. I'm always trying to hide things from people. I'm a sneaky little son of a gun, always stealing. I was stealing at an early, I love to steal stuff, man, even if it's in my own house and then work out, you know. Just steal little things. I don't even need these things I steal, you know. I mean, it was the hardest thing for me to do was to come back to Alcoholics Anonymous and get sober and be a plumber because I'm alone in a medicine chest. That's not a good deal for an alky like me. I got to find out what you got on stock there, man. You know, I want to crack that thing open, see what you got going on. And I was afraid to get sober again in Alcoholics Anonymous because I didn't think I could be trusted in that medicine chest or in the jewelry room in the bedroom or something like that. But I remember that anger that I had for my dad. And my dad was I remember being ashamed of my mom and dad. I'm ashamed of my mom because she's working down at Save-Ons and she's cleaning people's houses and stuff like that. I'm ashamed of my dad because he's a refinery worker. He wears glasses and has a lunch bucket, and I think it makes me look weak. And I don't want to be associated with that. That ain't cool, you know? And I spent a lifetime trying to see. My dad was from World War II vet. He come from the age that you don't know how good you got it, back when I was your age. And you know what my dad did when he was 10 years old? His mother died. She hung herself in a Detroit jail. She was a drunken whore. And his dad choked on his own vomit and died when he was 12, and he raised his kid brother up by himself by working gas stations and working grocery stores. And the only reason he would say that to me, and the only thing my dad wanted to do, was to prevent me from reliving what he had to go through. That's all the old man wanted. He reeked of responsibility, and I took it as, don't tell me what to do. He reeked of consistency and responsibility, and when you're an alky like me, you read things wrong. Alkies have the ability to look you flat, square, dead in the eye and not hear a damn thing you hear. Yeah, we can look your sponsor right in the eye and go, and not hear a damn thing they're saying, man. And that's all my dad was trying to do to me. But I had to prove to my dad that I could cut it out there with nothing. I had to prove to my dad that I'll never have to ask for a handout and I could cut it out there. I have to prove to my old man something. You know, and around 11 years old, there's about 4 of us, and we started passing around a bottle of Four Rose whiskey. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I should have been feeling all along. I said, man, this is how they felt when they got a home run. This is how they felt when they got an A. Man, for the first time in my life, I had a decent opinion about me and everybody around me, man, and I ran with it. It was just like, it turned Howdy Doody into James Dean in 2 drinks, man. I loved it, man. I rolled up my smokes, I slicked back my hair, I got my little Towncraft shirt on, and I was ready, man. You know, and I love the effect produced by alcohol. It took away that grinding, man, and it made me feel one among many. you know, and I was ready to go out. And I didn't head out to Skid Row that very next day, but I know that the moment that I would feel restless, irritable, or discontented, or would have to face some form of responsibility, I knew that I could take a shot of my old man's wine and I'd be all right. And that's what alcohol did to me, man. It made me feel all right being me, and I was never all right being me. I didn't drink for the party. I didn't drink to escape. I drank to fit in. I drank to just go out there and be something other than me, because I just didn't want to be me. The idea of being me for the rest of my life didn't look like a good thing, you know. And I remember being a freshman in high school, and I found a group of people that made me feel more a part of life than anybody I'd ever met. And it was the lowriders. And I loved the lowriders, man. We used to drive around, get a hair up like a big Bakersfield tumbleweed, you know, and drive around all night and eat those reds and drink that gin and listen to the Four Tops and the Temptations and the OJs. I had my Chevrolet lowered down, and God, I loved it, man. You know, about a couple months ago, I had the Four Tops on my plumbing truck, and I just started sinking down in my own damn car. I loved it, man. I had a little Mexican girlfriend named Lupe, and she curled her hair up in a big old beehive, you know, and she had all these big old eyebrows on, and I'd get my hair up real big, and I'd have a white T-shirt with black khaki pants that came up to here, you know, and I had my hair down to here, and you could see my hair before me when I turned the damn corner, man. We'd drive around all night listening, you know, go down up and down Whittier and Hawthorne, and I had 3 guys in the back seat, and they looked just like me. We'd all just go bouncing around. All you see is our eyes in that car, you know. And we had these hydraulic lifts that you could raise up and everything. Every now and then we'd get a hippie and throw him in the back seat. He'd be loaded on speed or something. We'd start bouncing that damn car around. Let me out of here, man. And I loved it, man. I loved the effect produced by alcohol. I loved what it made me, because it wasn't me, you know. And hell, I remember Christmas shopping one day. We were in the Glendale Mall, and I start walking down the Glendale Mall, and here comes this kid. He's about 18 years old. His head's all shaved off, you know. He's all tatted down. He's got a tank top on. He's got these big pair of pants on. You put about 3 guys in. And he's got 3 beepers on because he's an important kid, you know. And everything in his face is chained together, man. He's got ball bearings and shit chained and everything like that. And I want to squirt him with some WD-40 or something like that, you know. Jesus Christ, you know. And everything's hooked together. He looks like a science project, you know. And I walk by him, he goes, "What are you looking at?" And I says, "I don't have a clue what the hell I'm looking at, man, you know. But I recognize the attitude, you know." And man, that's the way I was, man. Look at what I show you, not what's in here. I spent a lifetime trying to keep you out. I spent a lifetime of keeping people out, because once you get in, you're going to find out what a loser I am. And man, I can't let you know that I'm a loser. I'd much rather you look at my alcoholism. I'll even let you take a peek at my anger. But man, don't find out that I'm insane. You know? Don't find out that I am just a feather away from going over the edge at any minute now, you know? And that's why I drank. It preserved my sanity. It kept me from hanging myself on a daily basis. Should I hang myself or run in front of the RTD? Let me see. You know, depending on the rain, you know. And it was never about going out there and doing something with my life, believe me. It was about how I was going to make it through another day without anybody finding out, man. And I had a good time around 1969. All my buddies are going to Vietnam, and some of them are turning hippie and going to San Francisco. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. So me and my buddy started heading out for Detroit, and we wound up in Phoenix. And we were over there off Buckeye and North Central, up there at the Wagon Wheel, over there at the the Apache Hotel above the Wagon Wheel Bar. And spending those mornings from 4:30 to 6, just waiting for the bar to open up. You see the guy cleaning in the bar, and you just, "Come on, man, I know you're in there, open up," you know. And I hook up with this guy down there named Ernie. And I'm not making any money, and Ernie has at this time in my life, I'm the type of guy that no matter what I'm drinking, I start sounding like the guy next to me after I've had a couple drinks. It's an amazing thing, you know. As long as it ain't me, I'm all for it, you know. After 3 Boilermakers, I start sounding like Ernie from Tennessee, you know. "Hi, Larry, how are you?" "Well, I'm fine, Ernie, how are you?" You know. Next week, I'm over there at the Japanese bar. "Hi, Larry, how are you?" You know. "Very good," you know. As long as I ain't me, baby, I'm all right, you know. And so Ernie has an idea about how we're going to make some money. He says, "Larry," he says, "you're going to be a jockey." I says, "What?" He says, "You're going to become a jockey, man." I says, "I've never been on a horse in my life." He says, I know some guys, and we got some horses down here in Buckeye, Arizona." He says, "But you got to get down to 90 pounds. And he gave me this bag of speed. and sent me off to my motel room, and I proceeded to be a jockey. 5 days later, he comes back. He opens up the door, and I don't want to be a jockey no more, Ernie. just haven't slept a wink, man, you know. I want to work at a hamburger stand. I want to work where there's some food and some water, you know. I don't want to be a jockey, Ernie, you know. I got a toenail cut. So then we hook up with some guys down there, and we start drinking that Old Crow whiskey, and we start selling Social Security cards, and we start writing prescriptions. Start writing prescriptions for Seconal and Tuinal and Nembutal and Obitrol, you name it all. We wrote it all. Damn near took it all, too. And then we started making some dough, and we went down to Tucson, and we started running those papers down there, and after a couple of years, they caught up with me. Now, when you're loaded on whiskey and reds, there's going to be no freeway chase, you know. You're not going to see Barney in the Channel 7 helicopter. Thank you. You know, it's just a matter of the sheriff coming into your motel room going, oh, there's the son of a bitch right there, you know. So they arrested me, and they put me away for a couple of years down there in southern Arizona, institution down there, and after 2 years, I come back to California. And in 1974, my probation officer starts giving me antabuse, and, you know, he's starting to see that I'm a nut. There's nothing going, there's no order in my life. The biggest job I have at this time in my life is that twice a month I've got to find a window of 15 minutes where I'm going to go into a man's office and pee in a jar. And I can't find that window. You know what I'm saying? We're talking timing here, you know. And when you're an alkie, that window, it's unpredictable, you know, because you're not thinking about stopping for 15 minutes ever. It's just a matter of timing, you know. And sometimes, and most of the times, I'd come in there, and I wouldn't be stone drunk, but it would be an old drunk. It'd be a shaky hand drunk where I couldn't take that water like I did from that young man just now. It'd be where you hide your hands. You don't look people in the eye because you know your eyes are going like that. You know, you don't grab nothing, you know. And it's a funny thing because you feel worse when you're in public. You feel worse when there's 2 or 3 people around because you know it's not what you smell, it's not what you say, it's just that everybody can tell. And you know, the loneliness of the alcoholic is not that he's by himself and is, I mean, when I'm alone in my room, that's when I'm at my best. That's not the loneliness we talk about here in alcohol. The loneliness we talk about in Alcoholics Anonymous is they don't know what son of a bitch is in front of you. They never know what the hell you're talking about. They don't know why you drink, and you don't know why they don't, you know. They have no idea, and they tell you crazy stuff like, if you just stop drinking, Marge, you'll be all right. And what you don't know is that when Marge starts drinking, her life gets so incredibly worse that she has to drink to preserve her sanity. If she could not drink and be all right, well, she wouldn't have to come to Paramount on a Sunday night. But something happens to Marge when she stops drinking. She gets restless, irritable, and discontented, and her life starts getting progressively worse. Everybody's life flourishes. People don't understand what the hell you're saying. And if they just get the hell out of your face and quit telling you not to drink. See, the problem with me is that no matter who was telling me not to drink, they weren't telling me how to do it. And it was always somebody with a plaque on the wall or a gun in his holster telling me how to live. But when I come to Alcoholics Anonymous and I hook up with some other losers who have made themselves active in life again, and they utter those incredible words in AA, I understand how you feel. Man, I understand how you feel, Marge. I was there. I understand how you feel, Mike. Listening to this young man tonight, I understood every move he made. I understand every move I knew how he was feeling. I know what it's like to feel like you're a loser. I know what that's like. And nobody would understand what the hell I was going through, you know. And so 1974, I'm in a Little League dugout over there in El Segundo. It's a Sunday morning. And I'm stone cold sober, and the police come and they arrest me. Somebody calls the cops on me because I'm hysterical. So what? You know, I'm by myself, I'm in a dugout, and I'm stone cold sober. I'm in between hysterical and maniacal. So they take me to the Harbor General Hospital, where they diagnose that some of my drug overdoses have now been suicide attempts. And my probation officer sends me to Camarillo for a month to be observed. Well, I guess they like what they seen because they kept me there for a year, you know. And there's really not a whole lot. I'm a quick study, you know. And things got worse in there, and I got in trouble in there. I didn't like people touching me, and I got violent there. And then I got where I shut down. There was no talking. There was nothing, and I just totally closed in. And they weaned me out through a halfway house in Gardena called Pacifica House. And they told me that people like me and you don't operate in society without some type of mood-altering chemicals, antidepressants. They said, you're not going to cut it out there, Larry, unless you get something to take the edge off and, you know, have some type of intense therapy. And they gave me a little bag of medication and a psychiatrist to see, and I lasted 2 months. Because in 1975, 2 months later, I'm over there on Overo Street being picked up for publicly being intoxicated, a violation of probation. And they violate me and send me up to Wayside. I'm up there and I do 60 days. They put 60 of us in a black and white bus where we're going to be sentenced and sent off to our institution. And I'm at the South Bay Courthouse at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the holding tank, about half this size. And it's just me and my Vaughn's bag. And I go, well, I wonder where I'm going now. Wonder what's going to happen now. And at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, a Scottish man with a patch stuck his head in that jail cell. He says, are you Larry Thomas? And I said, yes, sir, I am. He says, come with me, you're going to AA. AA? What the hell is that? Some kind of long arm of the Salvation Army or something, you know? I've heard of OR and PO, but what's an AA, you know? And who's the Scottish pirate? You know, who the hell's he? Where'd he come from, you know? You know, and I'm ready for a long ride and maybe some lunch, you know? And the guy takes me 6 blocks away to my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. A 15-minute ride, max. And you know what this guy did? He talked you up a storm. He talked you up a storm. He was so happy that he was going to take me to meet you because he knew there was an answer there. He knew that once I sat in the rooms and did what these people do, that there would be a little bit of hope for me. He says, and don't you worry about feeling different, pal. He says, the more different you feel, the more qualified you are. Alcoholics Anonymous is designed for different people. It is made for the people who need to feel special doing average things. It's designed for people like us who need to have pats on the backs for making coffee. I'm the type of guy who does 8 hours of work, and I think the boss is in the office going, Jesus Christ, ain't that guy one? My God, that guy just did 8 hours work, isn't he wonderful, you know? And he only took a half-hour lunch. Jesus, they just don't make them like that anymore, you know? Oh, yeah, and I'm the same way today, yeah. I've been married for close to, how long, Mike? 2 years? I don't know. 2 years, you know, and I got an incredible wife. She's been sober 7 years, and she's active and alive, and she just feels so good it makes me feel bad sometimes. And how do you do that, you know? And so I'm always doing little things for her, you know, and my sponsor told me, don't tell her you did them, for Christ's sakes. Jesus Christ. You know, I take out the trash. Eh? Notice anything, honey? You know, I mean, you know. So 2 weeks ago, I bought her a new toilet seat. A nice wooden one, you know. And so I'm sitting in the bedroom watching TV, and she comes home from work and goes into the bathroom. I go, here it comes. Yeah, this AA really works, huh? She comes out of the bathroom. Honey, I got to go pick up my sponsor. We're going to a meeting. Bye. Did you see anything in the bathroom? Nope, I gotta go, you know. And I'm going, Jesus, I was heart crushed. I waited till 11 o'clock that night. Yeah, you gotta use the bathroom? Yeah, here, let me go in there with you. Yeah. Oh, look at the seat here, you know. Couldn't leave it alone, man. And I come to Alcoholics Anonymous and I'm the same way. Sponsor tells me to make coffee for the meeting. Come back. Think it's gonna be in the AA grapevine. Larry makes coffee, you know. Always need that special. I'm the type of alkie who has to be treated special just to feel average. All my life, man. And you know how you're treated special in your life? You know how? You're always tugging on people's shoulders. Do you love me? Do you really love me? No, I mean, do you really, really, really? Yeah, get out of here, you know. Always got to be treated special, you know. And then when you do tell me you love me, I think you're stupid. Jesus Christ, how could you love somebody like me? What's wrong with you, pal? You know, my God, you know. It's never right, you know, never right. Begging for attention, and then you're frightened when you get it, you know. And always that going on. And that man took me to that meeting, and for 15 minutes he talked you up a storm. He talked you up a storm, and I was so glad that he did. And and I walked into that meeting. It was over at the TLC Club in Torrance, at the Torrance Lameda Alano Club, much like this. Walked into a room. He introduced me to a lady named Indian Jeannie, and Singin' Sam, and Serenity Sam, and Captain Bob, and Tennessee Bill, and Santa Claus Ray, and Bicycle Ray, and Dancing Pete, and Whistling Butt, and all these other people, man. Jesus, I just left a group of people like this, you know. Everybody's got a nickname and a tattoo, you know. And then a little Moose was from Louisiana. She come run, "Hi, honey, my name is Moose, and I'm expecting a miracle." I said, "I bet you are, Moose. Looks like you've been waiting for a long time to get it, too." And then this big transvestite comes circling around me like a helicopter. He came out of the card room, you know, and he started hovering around me, and he says, "You know, I can't wait to take you to a candlelight meeting." I said, "I don't think so, you know. Not for my first year anyway, you know." I've got my pride, big fella, you know. And I said, "My God," I said, "you know, if that's AA, I don't want any part of it. And if that's the effect of that blue book, I don't want to crap that thing open either, man." I was immediately, from 1975 to 1982, I came in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous on a regular basis. 30 days and get drunk, 60 days and get drunk, 90 days and get drunk. And the longest I could stay sober was 6 months because I was on heroin. And every time I came back, I sat in these rooms, and I was desperate. We got some chippers over there, you know. And there was nothing worse than sitting in these rooms and not doing nothing and watching everybody's life flourish and thinking that your case is different. If you are coming in and out of these rooms, you are not unique. That does not make you a worse alkie, and it doesn't make you a better member. All it does is prove to us one vivid fact. Your way don't work. My way don't work. Alcoholics Anonymous way works. You do not have to go in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous to become an alcoholic. It does you do nothing. All you do is sit in these rooms, and what happens is you create a cancer in your head that if you're somebody of sloth like me, who's never earned anything in his life, let alone his day in sobriety, and you do earn yourself here. You do earn your stay here. It is not something where you sit in a seat and get blessed with sobriety, or they wouldn't have these damn steps on the wall. There's some work to be done, and Alcoholics Anonymous is going to do to you what you've been doing to people your entire life. They're going to use you. Be prepared to be used, okay? You are going to be used. You are going to be a custodian for the good. You are going to be divinely inconvenienced for the rest of your damn life, you know? And you are begun to do things that you don't think are corny and lame and won't work for you, or you're going to die. There's no in-between. It says it in our book. No one likes to be shown that he's an alcoholic or be doomed to a death. There's no in-between answer. And I'm the kind of guy who's always been looking for a middle-of-the-road answer. You know why? There's no commitment on either side. And I don't know about earning my step. I don't know about earning stuff. And once you start taking these steps and you start doing these things you don't want to do, you start earning your sobriety, and maybe for the first time in your life, you'll think twice before you throw that son of a bitch away. Because you've earned it. You've sat with that sponsor and you've told them every dirty, disgusting thing, and you've put your time in here, and something's happened to you, and now it ain't so easy to jeopardize. Now you don't put yourself around people who are getting loaded and testing your sobriety to show them how strong and wonderful you are. Now what you do is maybe you hang around people who are doing what you're supposed to be doing. We're creatures of comfort. All it takes is for you to hang around a bunch of losers, and it's just a matter of time for you to feel a part of, you become a loser. And the same thing happens here. If you start hanging around the people who are staying sober, it's just a matter of time you'll do these things with them just to be a part of, and then your obsession will be removed after the steps are applied, and you become one among many. You won't have to be treated special anymore. And the cancer about being a slipper is that after you're here 3 weeks, you start running to your head, no, this ain't it either. No. And the moment the pucky comes down the fan, you think, you know what? I've made it out there once and I've come back, I can do it again. And that's the biggest lie you've ever told yourself. Don't jeopardize your sobriety. By golly, if you think it's a gift, handle it like a gift. You don't come here with a desire to stop drinking. That comes after you're sober here a couple weeks. Then you get a desire. You get a desire you want to stop or you're going to do these things. You know, and I hope you reach that point. I hope you're at that place where you know that your way don't work and that maybe AA is a step up, you know, and you quit testing yourself out there, you know. You don't have to do that here. And I got a hold of a sponsor in May 2nd, 1982, I'm over there at the Beacon Light Mission. I'm checking into the mission, you know. And in 1980, this guy come and visited me in my hotel room over there in San Pedro. I'm up there in Wilmington at the Don Hotel on the 3rd floor. I'm up there at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's a Thursday morning, 10 o'clock. I'm got a half a pint of bourbon cut in half. I got a hot plate and a hot TV. I'm watching Jeopardy so I could really feel like an idiot, you know. And every now and then I get one right, you know. Donald Duck, yay! I don't need no meeting, you know. And the guy comes in, and, you know, 10 o'clock in the morning, I hear this, who is it? Jesus Christ, it's the landlord. Larry, it's Don. Oh, my God, it's that guy from AA. I didn't even call him, and he's coming over here, you know. Can I come in? I said, yeah, and he opens up the door, and it's my first sponsor, Don. He goes, Jesus Christ, Larry, you had 15 days, man. You had 15 days. You were going to be a janitor in the city of Lomita. There's some hope for you, you know, and he says, what are you doing, Don? He says, Larry, what are you doing, man? And I took a shot off of that bourbon bottle with all the sincerity. Jesus Christ, Don, I says, I don't want what you have. I don't want what you got. And if I ever get that bad, I'll know what to do. Get the hell out of my room and let me do what I want to do. The cry of the alcoholic. And we all have a cry, and that was mine. Let me do what I want to do. I didn't ask to be born. My drinking ain't bothering you. Just let me do what I want to do for Christ's sakes. And the moment that I said that, it struck a chord in 1967 when my father's kicking me out of the house because I got arrested for selling Tuinals at school. And my sisters are beating up on me, and I'm beating up on my dad, and my mom's crying, and I'm yelling at the old man, get up off my back, old man. My drinking ain't bothering you. And he did the best thing he's ever done to me his entire life. He kicked me out of that house at 16 and said, if you want to run your life, you can, but I've got 2 daughters and a wife to take care of. I don't give a hell what you do with your life, but you're not going to do it here. It shot me back to 1972 when the macho man's coming out of that institution in Arizona. And where do macho men go when there's no place to go? They go to Mom's house. And the macho man's on Mom's house. The macho man's on Mom's couch. And like the days of Wine and Roses, when Jack Lemmon busts through that nursery and he starts tearing apart the plants looking for the half pint, 2 o'clock in the morning, I start tearing apart my mom's house, looking for the half pint, because I can't find my old crow bottle, and I know she took it. You know what happens when you can't find your bottle? Somebody's poured it out, even when you live alone, you know. And I can't find my old crow bottle, and my mom comes down the hallway, and she says, honey, what's wrong? And I said, don't you, honey, what's wrong with me? And I start smacking that little lady around till I get blood out of her nose, demanding that she come up with the bottle. Don't screw with me, Mom. I want to know what that damn thing is or I'm going to kill you. And I got my mom down on the ground just to wake up the next morning to see that the empty was in the can that I drank it all. And there's plenty of times when we wish we could be blacked out. And we talk about blackouts all the time. But what about those moments you do that stuff and you're not blacked out? What about those moments that gnaw at you when you lay your head on the pillow and you're newly sober or you're freshly drunk and you can't keep them out of your mind? What about those moments when a 28-year-old man sneaks up on his mom and she hasn't seen him for a year and a half and he sneaks into his mom's house to frighten her to death? And I got my street mud on and my mom's frightened to death and she's shivering and she grabs me and she puts me in her lap and she starts rocking. And I can feel my mom's tears hit me on the face, and she's crying in a shiver saying, dear God, help my baby boy. And I'm looking up at her and saying, God, Mom, it ain't that bad. Everything's going to be all right. You see, that's the conversations I was having with my mom at 28 years old. I should have been having conversations with, I'd love you to meet Rosie and talk about that recipe for Thanksgiving. I want you to see your granddaughter and how she's doing. I should have been having conversations, but I'm not having conversations like that. My old man's got a gun, and he's telling me if I come 10 miles between his house, he's going to blow my brains out. You've caused this family enough damage, Larry. If I ever see your face around this neighborhood, I'm going to shoot you, you son of a bitch. You've robbed every piece of mine that I've ever had. You see, all my dad had was a dream. He had a dream with this little lady he met when he was 16, that he was going to come out of the Navy and come to California and give her the good life. And I nightmared every day of that man's dream. And I couldn't stand the old man. And I should have been having conversations with my dad about, hey, I got this new golf club and I'd like you to talk about the 401k plan. But the conversations I'm having with my dad is, if you call this house again, you son of a bitch, I'm going to come over and shoot you. Why don't you just leave us alone, Larry? And that's what came to you on May 2nd, 1982. It was the sum total of me and my will. I'm the sum total of me and my will. My best thinking got me to you. And I panhandled some money on May 2nd, and I checked into the mission because that's where I'm living. It's not where I bottomed out. I was living there, and it was my turn for a blanket. And I got into that mission, and I got some money, and I called central office. I called central office over there in Torrance, and who do I get? I get Don. Don, this is Larry. Hey, I've just checked into the mission. I'm ready to come back to Alcoholics Anonymous. Would you come and get me? And he told me the most profound thing I've ever heard in my life. He says, no, you little son of a bitch. He says, you know where we are, you know what we got. If you want to get sober, get your rusty rear down here yourself. I'm tired of chasing after you. He says, the sign says we care. He says, I'll be damned if I'm going to take care of you. And he hung up. I said, my God, whatever happened to that AA love I used to hear about? And I took the longest walk of my life, 11 miles from Wilmington to Torrance. And I came down to that club. And about a block away from that club, there was about 4 of them sitting out in front of the doors, and they're all poking and pointing at me as I'm coming down there. And I got my street mud on again, and I come shuffling down there with my shit in my pants and the shit in my head, and coming down there. And the guy asked me, what do you want here? You've been banned from the club. And I says, well, if it interests you, I want to find out if Don's there. And he says, well, we got a meeting in a half hour, champ, and there's no donuts in there. Well, then forget it, you know. And I walked into that club, and there he was. He was over by the bar, and he had on his little golf shirt and his Levi's, and he was clean and he was sharp, and he was a man of Alcoholics Anonymous who reeked of sobriety and the good life. And I waddled up to that man, and for the first time in my life, I didn't ask him for any money and I didn't ask him for a handout, but I asked him something that I never asked a man in all those years I was going in and out. I said, Don, I don't know what to do with my life. Would you be my sponsor? And the guy lit up like a damn sunrise for about 5 seconds, and then he lit into me for 20 minutes. And under no certain terms was he going to put up with my nonsense. He gave me the wood. He says, you are going to do certain things and make the effort, or I am not going to make the effort. I'm tired of wasting my time on you. I've got guys that are doing things here to stay sober, Larry. He says, I'll sponsor you on one condition, that you do every damn thing I ask you to do with no debate. And that's what my last drunk did for me. It drank away the debate of whether or not I'm going to do what you asked me to do here. It was not up for question. And I've stayed here ever since. And I'd like to tell you that Alcoholics Anonymous will shield you from life's little bullets, but what it does, it sticks you smack dab in the middle of life, and you better have a program, because they don't care. They don't care how many chips you got. They just want you to dig the ditch. And you taught me how to go out there and behave. You taught me how to learn how to behave in here for an hour and a half, and then maybe I can take it out there. You taught me in these meetings. We don't take what we learn out there in here, although some of us try. We take what we learn here and take them out there. You see, I'll guarantee you one thing if you knew, that what I do in between meetings has everything to do with me being an AA member without telling anybody I am. What I do when I'm away from you and how I conduct myself and how I behave has everything to do with me being an AA member. And I learned that from you. The men in Alcoholics Anonymous taught me how to hold a job. The women in Alcoholics Anonymous told me how to take care of my wife and my daughter. A daughter that I wasn't supposed to see. A daughter that I wasn't supposed to visit anymore. Who I just left this weekend. I drove over in Phoenix and seen my little Lauren. Because if the macho man can go to Ohio and speak, why can't he go to Phoenix and visit his little daughter? Which is more spiritual? I may not be somebody's husband, but I'm always going to be somebody's father. And it was the women in Alcoholics Anonymous who told me how important that was. And they taught me how to keep in contact with that little girl. That you write her every week and you phone call her every week. And you don't write her on boring yellow legal paper. You write her on Pocahontas paper. And she reads those letters and she calls me. And my baby Lauren is, she's the most beautiful little Latin girl you're going to see, besides my wife. And she's on the honor society of smart little kids or something over there, you know. And she called me up and she says, Daddy, she says, the kids are making fun of me because I'm so smart. She said, did that ever happen to you? And like any good alkie, I said, hell yeah. Happened to me today, you know. So I had a great time with her, and she loves Rosie, and we're doing We're doing AA. She's never seen her daddy drunk. And that father that you told me, that's why it's so important if you're new, quit running to your family and announcing your sobriety. Give them a rest. For Christ's sakes, give them a rest. Wait till you get some sobriety under your belt. If you need to call them, just tell them you're doing well. Don't tell them nothing. I'm doing well. How are you? Because I finally got to make amends to my mother and father, and it was just one afternoon setting. It's been an ongoing thing where the old man who was once the bastard of your life and the fire in your anger becomes your partner in life and your best friend. How the macho man was 190 pounds and you were afraid of every move he made because he was going to smack you across the mouth again. How you can go over and visit your father, and at 95 pounds he's got his little Dodger hat over his eyes and he's done with his chemo for the day. And he's telling you, how'd it go out there in Ohio, kid? My dad has a carekeeper because he can't go to the restroom by himself, and he's constantly going. He's got cancer of the liver and of the intestines. And so he's always going to the bathroom. And so I says, Dad, I got you a sweatshirt. One of my babies gave me a sweatshirt from Scotland. It's from St. Andrew's Golf Course. And he says, great, bring it over. I can't wait to pee in it. You people, with your example and your spirit, have taught me that it's the God in me that sees the God in you. It's the God in me that sees the God in you. And when I see that, I feel that he's among us right now. Right here in this room is when I'm the closest to my God. When I'm with you. When I'm with his kids. And I'm not trying to be the head kid or the sickest kid. But I want just one among many. What a neat place to be. That I can go and give back the very thing that I robbed from my mom and dad. And it's called peace of mind. Give it back to them. When they hear the siren, they don't got to worry. When the phone rings, they don't jump. And when they hear your voice, they say, God, it's good to see you. It's good to hear you. How you doing? You've added that to my life. You've given me the gift where I can give it to them and give somebody a peace of mind and stop worrying about my own. I love you for that. And thank you for having me down here.